Hello everyone, it's Becky here. So today is a really wonderful sunny day and I'm starting a new journal. So I'm going to sketch this view on the first page of my new art journal. So here I've just written down the title page, Spring to Summer 2021 from May the 1st to probably end of August. And I'm going to sketch the view outside my window in this space here. So first of all, I'm drawing a rectangular frame so everything fits easily inside. So over the 9 years since I lived here, I've been sketching this view outside my reading room window numerous times, many times throughout the 4 seasons. And I'm really familiar with all of the architectural forms. So as you can see, I started with the stuff on the foreground, including the rooftops. I'm trying to keep all the shapes really simple, like triangles, like the shapes of children's toy building blocks. Adding the windows and fill the inside, the glass part of the windows black, because the windows during daytime usually they look pretty dark. And in this way, I'm adding more density to the houses. And just keep connecting one thing after another. This big maple tree here is really adding a really nice balance for this picture. Like a sense of proportion, like this tree looks really huge because it's closer to me, it's right outside my window. And then the houses on the other side of the street look smaller. So it's a really nice contrast of sizes here. So I'm just drawing the main branches. And then I'm moving on to the middle and the background to draw the forest in the distance. Again, just keeping everything really in simple outlines because the things in the distance, they don't need a lot of details. Adding a bit of hatching, just to show the texture of the forest. And keep building the houses below. Drawing in between the branches, actually really interesting. And keep drawing the branches and twigs. So again, when we're drawing trees, we don't have to draw every single branch and twigs. It's too much details. So draw as many as you can. Now I'm adding a bit of textures for the rooftops. So after about 10 to 15 minutes of drawing, I'm ready to paint with my watercolors. I always paint the sky first by wetting it first with water and then adding a really translucent layer of cerulean blue and turquoise blue here. Just keep it really watery because the sky is always a translucent color. The other objects below the sky are more solid. And again, keeping the cloud forms around the horizon really delicate and thin, because this is the idea of aerial perspective. The cloud forms closer to the horizon looks more squished or thin. Using very small and gentle brushstrokes. Now wetting the house area and adding a first layer of sunshine color because it's a really sunny day, yellow ochre, and then light green for the first layers of the trees and forest. Adding a second layer pretty quickly, wet on wet. Viridian green. Make the green darker by mixing in a bit of brown and blue so the green looks a bit darker. And another layer. The forests in the distance are quite dark. Keep adding another layer of stronger yellow and then brown for the rooftops. Keep adding more details for the houses. Painting the tree. Depending on the species of the tree, this maple tree here looks more like a mix of green and yellow ochre, like the tree bark, tree branches. And then the darker part has a bit more shade of brown. Now I'm using very small dotting brushstrokes to paint the new leaves on the maple tree. So it's pretty interesting that maple trees, their new leaves doesn't look really fresh green. They actually look a bit of yellow, brown green, and orangey green. It's quite interesting. The color is more dull compared to other trees that has fresh green leaves. So again, just relax and use different pressures to create different sizes of dots. And also mixing a new kind of green once in a while. Some parts might be more yellowish green, more orangey green. Some parts maybe more like a dark green. Kind of switch between the colors. Just so the tree looks more dynamic. Just really satisfying to fill these empty branches and twigs with these new leaves. It's really meditative too. Adding a bit of shade. And finally, writing down the time. It took me 35 minutes to finish this sketch. And then I'm writing a note. And now moving on, I'm gonna sketch my minimalistic art materials. These are the art materials that I use all the time. Very simple, very minimal. You don't need a whole room of art materials to be able to make nice art. So before I draw, I visualize the placement of the palette first. I'm starting with the middle. So I know there is enough space for the upper and lower mixing area tray. The upper tray, drawing the rim, and then the lower mixing tray. Drawing the wells of mixing colors. Drawing these little wells for color mixing. So I kind of measured the size of these half pan with my eyes first, so I know how big should I draw. So there are 12 squares on the upper part and 12 squares on the lower part. And again, we don't have to stress about the size or accuracy. They all look kind of different. Now I'm drawing my water brushes. And drawing super quickly, I'm not worrying about, making perfect straight lines. Even sometimes the lines look a bit wobbly, and that actually gives life to the things that we draw. Drawing my fine liner pen. Okay, now I'm painting. This part is super easy, so it's just grabbing the colors from those half pans and just add them on. Again, this is really satisfying. So right now I'm using an etcher palette. It has 24 half pan watercolors. And I really like using it because it has a variety of different yellows, red, magenta, pinks, and a variety of greens and blues and browns. I'm just painting really abstractly. Those mixing wells, they're messy anyway. Adding a bit of shade inside the rims. Then just painting these water brushes super quickly because they're very small. And keeping some areas with tiny streaks of highlight because they're plastic. And then finally adding shadows for the palette and brushes and pens. And it's done. Here's the title page of my new sketchbook. So thank you so much for watching my video. If you like my video, please like and leave me a comment of how you think about my style of art journaling, any questions that you have for me. And I will see you next time.